Hi everyone, this is how to make a bedding roll, particularly this time for a winter camp, but this should apply to all camping as well. So we've started off with a ground sheet which is about 2 meters square. That's a good size. Apologies for the cat who will probably be trying to get in the bedding roll most of the time. So you lay your ground sheet out on the ground and then you start with your blankets. I have actually got 3 blankets this time because again this is a winter camp and we need as much warmth as we can. You would normally be fine with just 2, and in fact this one isn't a blanket, it's a camping duvet for extra warmth. And then I'm going to add my camp blanket in on top of the sleeping bag in a moment. So again, because this is a winter camp, this is a 3/4 season sleeping bag, so it's very thick. If you haven't got a winter sleeping bag, do not worry. The alternative option is to borrow another sleeping bag and use 2 at the same time, and you literally put one inside the other. I can imagine we'll all be getting into our sleeping bags and then doing a kind of caterpillar wriggling into the second sleeping bag, so it'll be quite fun to watch. When I laid the 2 blankets down, notice I didn't lay them straight on top of each other. They're offset, so one's on one side and one's on the other. And now what you're going to do is flip them over so that you've got your blankets wrapped around your sleeping bag as an extra layer. If you're a person who sleeps in a kind of still way and doesn't move around a lot, you can actually pin the blankets together if you want to, because that will mean they stay warm. But most people wriggle around so much that they find that quite constricting, so it's up to you. At this point I'm going to add in an extra blanket on the top. This is actually my camp blanket. Sorry, Pussycat. If you're taking your camp blanket on camp, particularly to a large camp where there will be hundreds and hundreds of other people, you need to make sure that it is named. Camp blankets are really precious. They've got the whole of your Girl Guiding history on them. If you take it to a campfire and accidentally leave it behind to get too hot and you take it off and it falls down and you lose it, and this has happened before, you will be devastated. So please make sure it's got your name on it, and if you're going to a big camp it also needs to have your unit on it, and that way, so this time we're going to Sparkle and Ice at Foxley's. Foxley's have said that if items have got names and units on, they will attempt to get them back to people, otherwise it's really not going to come back to you. So you've got your sleeping bag sandwiched up in the blankets. Now you need a pillow. This is actually a camping pillow, which is very small. It doesn't have to be a camping pillow. Obviously, the bigger your pillow, the bigger your bedding roll is going to end up being, and it might make it harder to do up. The other option is to put a small cushion inside a pillowcase. And don't bring absolute best bedding of any kind, because you don't know quite what state it's going to come back in. So put the pillow inside the sleeping bag. And you also need some form of friend, and the friend also goes inside the sleeping bag. You can, if you want, put your pyjamas inside your bedding roll. If you do that, make sure you remember you've done it, so that when you're getting ready to go to bed, you don't look through your suitcase and realise that you haven't brought any pyjamas and go into a panic. Okay, so now you are going to roll up the inside part of your bedding roll, just the inside part, not the ground sheet. You'll see some instructions online for how to do a bedding roll that do actually roll the ground sheet up with all the blankets and the sleeping bag. That is one way to do it, but it's much less waterproof. There's much more opportunity for water to seep in round the ground sheet than the way we do it. Okay? Don't worry if the ground sheet starts coming with you, because you can just straighten it all out in a minute. Now obviously, because there's 3 blankets and one of those blankets is actually a duvet, this bedding roll is going to be huge. It doesn't matter. Go. Right. Now, this is when you need to roll the ground sheet up around the blankets and the sleeping bag. If your ground sheet is not square, you need, I'm just trying to work out the best way to put this, you need the longer sides of the ground sheet. Trying to work out how to put it. you need the longer sides to be gathered up now. So what I'm going to do is get the two sides like this, and I'm going to roll them up together like a paper bag. This is what is going to be the major element of keeping your bedding roll waterproof, okay? So you need the length of the ground sheet now, okay? We can do the folding in of the corners with the shorter part of the ground sheet. So take your longer bits and start folding them up now. Obviously, if any of this doesn't make sense, just get in touch with me and I will explain. Okay. So roll it up as tight as you can. We'll end up redoing this a bit once we get the rope around it, but don't worry about that. Okay, so hold on to it so that doesn't all unravel, and then take your rope. Now, the last couple of years, guides and parents have really struggled with finding the right kind of rope. The rope is when the cat is really going to want to get involved. This is a cotton rope. A plastic rope is absolutely fine, or a nylon rope. Nylon climbing rope is really good. This one is good because it's quite flexible. It's a little bit thin, but it's okay. You start off with your rope with a loop tied in the end. You don't ever undo that loop. That stays there like that. If your rope is a plastic one, you can melt the ends so that it doesn't all unravel. You don't want the ends coming undone when you're on camp. This one, because it's a cotton one, I've wrapped the ends with gaffer tape to keep it all in place. Because this one's bright red, I can recognise it. It's useful to mark your rope in some way so that you know it's yours, particularly if loads of other people have got one that looks exactly the same. You can wrap a pattern in tape around the end or work out some clever way of putting your name on it. It's also good, if you can, and Sharpies are really good here, to name your ground sheet, because quite often people have got ground sheets that look exactly the same as well. So I've put the rope underneath the bedding roll and I've got the loop up on the top. What we want to aim to end up with is the loop sitting on top of this fold, because that's the strongest point and it's going to hold this fold down. So I'm going to take the other end of the rope and feed it through the loop like this, and then pull it back. So I'm going to go that way a bit so that when I pull it tight, that loop is going to end up on top of this fold, hopefully. There we go. Let's go that way a bit more and come back again. Okay, now at this point we're going to do a knot which is officially called a half hitch, but we always call it a 4 knot because it looks like a 4. Now I'm doing this with me here and the knot there so that you can see. It's actually easier if you're sitting here and it's right in front of you. So, looks like a 4. The end of the rope, which I'm now sitting on, is going to come up through the middle of the 4. Now, you would normally be doing this on camp with 2 people because you need one person holding that to make sure it doesn't keep coming undone. So it's slightly tricky to do with one, but it is possible. So one hand there to hold that and then tighten that up. Okay, that is the basic knot you're going to do every time on all the different parts of your bedding roll. One thing I've realised I haven't really explained is why we do this. This is the best way to keep your bedding absolutely waterproof and contained in one place, out of the way inside a tent which may not be very big for 5 or 6 guides. The other reason is that when you've got the ground sheet, it means that in the morning after you've slept in your bedding all night and it's frankly a little bit moist and sweaty, you can then take the whole lot out, lay it on the grass on top of the ground sheet, very important, and air your bedding. And that's what we would normally do every day at camp. This being a winter camp, we might not, depending how cold it is and how wet it is. Okay, so you've got the ground sheet now secured around the middle of your bedding roll, and now you need to do the ends. So this ground sheet is very, very airtight, which means that when I do this next bit, it's going to puff up like a balloon, probably. Try and make sure that you've got kind of an equalish amount of ground sheet on each side of your bedding roll. I think this one's reasonably equal. And try and squish out as much air as you can first. Fold the corners in like you're wrapping up a Christmas parcel, and then again you're going to roll. And you see it puffing up. It doesn't matter a little bit if it's a little bit puffed up. Okay, And now you take your rope and put it down over this fold and flip the whole thing over. And then you're going to tie another 4 knot here to secure this side. So you're going to start off by putting the rope underneath the bit that's already there, like that. And you can see, just when I pulled that through, how important it is that the end of your rope is secure and not fraying everywhere. It gets very irritating if you're trying to thread through bits that are fraying. So again, a 4 shape, and we're going to put the rope up through the middle, like that, and tighten it. Okay, so that's that side. And now bring the rope down this side and fold it over, flip it over again. This bedding roll is going to end up being a random funny shape because I can feel that the extra duvet and the reasonably large toy, please don't bring any absolutely massive teddy bears, are going to make it a funny shape, but that's fine. Waterproof is better than beautiful. So again, try and push all the air out, or as much air out as you can, and fold the corners in like this and roll. I can feel it's going to puff up completely in a minute. Can you see it puffing? Okay, let's try and get some more air out. Slightly better. Okay. Tight as you can. When we're at camp and the girls are doing this, the ladies will be coming around pretending to be evil raindrops. Can I get water inside any of these folds? You shouldn't be able to see any blanket or any edges of ground sheet when you've finished your bedding roll. Okay, so let's see if I can just move this knot around because it's migrated a bit. Unfortunately, it's quite tight and doesn't really want to go. There we go, it's a bit better. Right. So this is the last knot you're going to do to actually hold the whole thing together. There's more decorative knotting in a minute, but that's not really that important. Okay, at this point, you might think you go underneath here to hold this on, but then that bit can move around. So actually what you want to do is put it underneath this side here, and it will hold on. And that way it can't move. So put it tight and make a 4 shape. Tuck the end up through the middle, pull that there to stop it coming loose again. Oops, pulled the wrong way, and then there you go. So that's now held together. Admittedly, it's a bit of a skew with shape, but it's fine. Now, you've got this long end, and the fun bit is to stick it under there to make a loop, and then crochet. And you pull the last end through just to strip. There you go. Bedding roll. This is what we're aiming for. Do not panic if it comes to camp not looking quite like that. The idea is that after however many days of practicing, it will come home looking like this. Thanks everybody. Please get in touch if you've got any questions.